What's up, DeGroote? Welcome to your weekly NBA BizCast, where we provide you with the information that you need to know. We provide weekly highlights in tech, business, sports, and other interesting stories. Listen while you work, study, drive, or on your break. Today is October 22nd, 2012, and we're going to start off with Alex. So tell us about what's going on at DeGroote and what's going on in the markets.
Thanks, Connor. So we're just going to kick it off with our DeGroote community news. Couple things going on here in the lovely Ron Joyce Center this week. Anytime now, expect to see an email in your inbox seeing the election results. I know we're all pretty excited to see who won, so keep an eye out for that. Later today, at some point this afternoon, you will also be ranked. Rank and Match is finally here. Be sure to attend the Rank and Match get-together tonight from 5:30 to 7 at Jack Astor's. Rankings must be submitted by Tuesday, and come Wednesday, pairings will be announced. For those students going into Phase 2, there will be a mandatory meeting this Thursday at 2:30, so be sure to register on Oscar. Other events going on in the building include a Ready, Set Network at the Ontario Hospital Association Conference on 10 a.m. this Tuesday. As well, for our international students, there will be an event discussing living and working in Canada from 5:30 till 7 p.m. on Thursday. For both, just be sure to register on Oscar. Lastly, for those interested in applying to the DeGroote Finance Association, the executive applications deadline has been extended to this Friday. Moving right into the market news, the TSX opened last week just under 12.2 and closed over 200 points higher to about 12.4, bringing growth for the year up to almost 4%. Currently, the TSX is sitting at 12.380, and this appears to be largely driven by strong performances in the mining sector. Canadian dollar has been softening. Analysts believe this is because the Bank of Canada intends to keep the interest rate the same. The loonie was down to 1.57 this morning. Canadian energy equities have faltered this morning in the wake of the federal government's decision to intervene in yet another energy takeover. State-owned Malaysian energy company Petronas bid to acquire Progress Energy Resources, a smaller firm of market capitalization around $4.5 billion operating out of British Columbia. When the bid was made, Progress was trading at about $11 a share, and Petronas had offered a premium of over $10 per share with a share offer of $22. The government put out a brief release on Friday night, just before midnight, halting the deal. With the announcement, Progress has dropped over 10% already this morning and is continuing to fall. Extending from this, Nexen, the acquisition target of China's state-owned CNOOC, has also taken a hit from this decision, as it conveys a growing comfort for government intervention in such takeovers. Obviously, this stance is going to have a range of impacts on our energy sector, and I'm wondering, what do you gentlemen think about this? You think this is the right move? You think this is the wrong direction?
I think it's kind of interesting. Personally, I didn't know very much about these laws and intervention laws, and now we're having the second discussion about it in less than a month. So the government is clearly concerned about state-owned direct investment in Canada and state and foreign states controlling countries. I think it's difficult to assess, especially because the government uses this test called the net benefit of Canada, and it's a very vague test. And even in my brief research, I can't find what the net benefit calculation is or how they determine it. Honestly, I can't find it.
Smiles per capita.
Yeah. I think it's I don't know what you think, G. We were talking about this earlier. I think it comes down to expecting these countries to give us the same deal we give them.
As far as Petronas goes, it's a Malaysian company, and they probably will allow some sort of reciprocity. China, on the other hand, with the Nexen deal, that's a different story altogether, because they probably won't. It's hard to say though, but I think Canada needs to open up and let more foreign direct investment. The country needs it, and I feel it will be better for the economy.
I mean, generally speaking, I would say I'm definitely a free trade supporter. But to play a bit of devil's advocate, I think one aspect of it is, if we're letting this investment come in, but we're not having reciprocity to go, and acquire, important assets in these markets that are coming into our market, it isn't free trade. It's one way, right? So I do see some of the, I guess, concern, or a good reason for a source of concern in these deals when we're selling out our prime real estate to economies that we don't have access to. But that being said, I mean, if you consider the $10 share price that just got rejected, that is $2.5 billion of Canadian wealth that just evaporated. In, I think, as one Globe and Mail reporter put it, in 163 words of government press release. So it's a little scary. It's definitely turbulent times.
I don't know. $2 billion sounds like net benefit to me. Like it's like the definition of a net benefit. We're getting an additional $2 billion. I don't know. To me, that sounds like
it definitely does. I mean, a country that's suffered with its budget deficits and such, and you're getting this money flowing in, but you don't want to do anything with it, or you're just rejecting it. Definitely. But then again, on the flip side, is it just penny wise, pound foolish? You know what I mean? Like you're getting the money now, and then you realize there's long-term consequences of this action. So I'm sure they're looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of monitor this going forward.
It's definitely going to have a big impact on the way we sit in the world going forward. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Anyways, back to Connor.
Thanks, Alex. So today, what tech products caught your eyes this week?
So this week we're going to talk about the big three, and it's kind of a crazy week. It's going to be a crazy week that the big three, all three of them are active this week. That's Microsoft, Apple, and Google. We'll start off with Apple because they're coming up first. October 23rd, so tomorrow, Apple's holding an event where it's expected they're going to release an iPad Mini. So that's going to be a 7-inch iPad, likely around $300 in price. It's going to be very similar to the new iPod Touches they released in build quality and design, and even materials, but just a smaller iPad. They kind of think that some people complain the iPad is difficult to read with in bed, or first world problems, right? Oh, my iPad is too heavy to read in bed, or some people say it's not as pocket or purse friendly as some of the smaller Android tablets. So Apple's going to probably enter the space tomorrow.
Too easy to get pulled over while driving on your iPad.
Would it be similar to the Samsung Note?
No,
size-wise, or are they just completely different?
It's going to be bigger than a Note. The 7 inches is it's very similar to what Google just released earlier this year, the Google Nexus 7. 7-inch tablet. I think it's going to be like very similar to a book form factor, so it's going to be rectangular, narrower, and taller.
Sort of like the Kindle Fire?
Yeah, like the Kindle Fire, any of the Kindle products. I think they're going to really push reading, and this being superior for reading, without taking away from their overall saying the full-size iPad, more expensive, is superior in everything. Moving on to Microsoft, this, I think it's Thursday or Friday, the 26th of October, Microsoft's going to be releasing their tablet, the Surface tablet. And they've already done the announcement for this, but details are now becoming official, and ship dates and everything are becoming concrete. This tablet's going to be a 32-gigabyte tablet, starting around $519, going up to as high as $719 for the higher capacity, and including the touch keyboard. It's a tricky thing because they're introducing a product and it's going to be more expensive than the defending champion, the iPad. Significantly more expensive because iPads start at $399, and like I said, if they come up with a new iPad to the market at $299, it's going to be tough to justify the more expensive. But they're going to justify it with three ways: the touch keyboard that they're coming out with, the built-in kickstand, and the magnetic attachments for these things. So I'll just kind of describe the touch keyboard. It's a silicone keyboard with a special pressure-sensitive material that reacts to pressure just like a touchscreen or a touch keyboard would, but it has a little bit of travel so that your fingers, you can type kind of quickly and kind of memorize spots. It's very, very thin, only as thick as a few sheets of paper, and it protects your screen when it's magnetically closed. So it's a fantastic looking idea. It could give you that keyboard typing, like laptop typing experience. That's something that you guys want to buy, maybe?
Definitely. I'm looking at a picture of it right now, and it looks sleek. It looks almost like a laptop without any thickness. And if it's magnetic, you can pull that right off.
Yeah, it is. It is magnetic.
So I guess you can just go right into tablet mode. So yeah, no, I'm looking at it. It looks sleek. It looks like a new innovation on the tablet, bridging that gap between functionality and convenience.
And I think that's always, well, not why it's always been. That is my hesitation from getting an iPad, for example. I don't enjoy typing on a flat screen that I'm holding. Having that small keyboard that shows up, it would improve the functionality for me. So as someone who wouldn't buy it regularly, I might be more enticed to buy it now.
Yeah, I also wonder if, like, they have a variety of colors too. Like, I wonder if that'll, it just looks like an attractive product. You?
In all honesty, I have a notebook, and it's quite thick. Takes up a lot of space in my bag, and I feel something like that would be ideal. I don't mind paying that price premium just for something that's a little bit more than an iPad, but a little less than an actual laptop. So it combines two things together, and no doubt, I mean, it's a great product, I feel.
And a couple of things, actually. I've just come across some of the comparative advantages between the iPad and the Surface. And I mean, a few things, like aside from having double the memory of the iPad, the Surface tablet does have USB ports and is able to actually connect with printers. So, I mean, that is something that the iPad completely omits.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big improvement in terms of functionality.
Yeah, as it is right now, if you want to print from an iPad, you have to have a wireless printer, and it has to support AirPrint, an Apple proprietary thing. Although a lot of manufacturers have chosen to support it because they had no choice. But yeah, and I haven't seen it yet, so I can't claim to have seen it personally. But some videos online have shown on the Surface running PowerPoint, Excel, and Word pretty close, if not exactly identical to their Windows desktop counterparts. And if it's saving stuff in the proper formats and you can edit, open, and work on it, that's 99% of a lot of people's use. Is people say the iPad has great internet, but you can't really do any work. This would give you work and internet. That's quite a bit of an advantage. But we'll have to see how that plays out. And finally, Google. They're throwing their own little party on the 29th of October, and they're expected to release 2 brand new devices and to upgrade one of their current devices. The tablet I mentioned earlier, the Nexus 7, somewhat popular. Small upgrade. They're going to add, I think, a 4G to it so that you can, buy a SIM card and use internet on the go. And then they're going to release 2 new products. The first one is, it's still rumored, but it's a 10-inch Nexus tablet. So as Apple is attacking the smaller tablet, Google is now attacking the larger tablet with a 10-inch Nexus tablet, likely to be made by Samsung, and it might even be running a new version of Android, but that's not confirmed. And they're also going to release a new handset, the Nexus 4. It's going to be a new Nexus phone, very similar to the last one. All your standard specs, HD screens, 8 megapixel cameras, 4G data. It's kind of just like keeping up with the Joneses. There's now, there's a new Samsung phone, there's a new iPhone. Google has to kind of stay competitive, so they're releasing a new product. The big question, though, is would you guys want to buy a tablet? Now that, basically all these companies, 3 of them in 1 week, are all trying to tell you need to buy a tablet. I still don't think it's quite there yet. What do you think?
I think that kind of just goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. If they can improve the functionality, that I can use it across, have multiple reasons to use it, not strictly for gaming or not strictly for business or school, then I'm more enticed. I'm perfectly happy with my laptop as is right now, so I don't need to switch anytime soon.
Yeah, I feel like my budget really only allows for one $700 piece.
Every 5 years, right?
if one can do both, and it's a tablet. I mean, I obviously see the tablet as being a really convenient way to sift through information, whether it be, browsing or even maybe like editing stuff, or at least identifying problems on an iPad in my actual work, and then changing it later on a laptop. But if I could do all of that and actually, execute changes to documents and print them, and also do all that browsing functionality, I might get on board. I think I'm probably going to have to wait maybe another year and let the product develop, though, to see how it's received.
And let price drop.
And let the price drop, yeah.
In all honesty, I just feel that these companies are just pushing this product onto us.
Because Christmas is coming.
Exactly. I mean, December's around the corner, and they're like, hey, where else to spend your money or waste your money? Just like, go buy an iPad, a tablet, whatever it be. But
I'll be looking out for the Santa keeps his list on a Surface tablet.
Yeah, that commercial's coming for sure. I just think it's kind of crazy to do 3 launches in 1 week. I don't even know if that's. I think that's overload for people. I follow this stuff pretty intensely, but I don't be able to follow all 3 of these events in 1 week. It's just crazy.
Who attends these events? Is it like, I wonder how these parties actually roll out? Like, do they have?
There's a lot of free swag. From what I've read online, there's a lot of free swag. A lot of people get free iPads, free Surfaces, free accessories, discounts, online there's a lot of free stuff. So they make it so it's these huge parties with obviously all the media, the tech media, and then you try and get a few celebrities in there to make it seem like they're on. But then they just give away a ton of stuff. Just it's your typical party, right? Typical Hollywood party.
Might be time to send a couple of What's Up DeGroote reporters into the field.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
You know what? I think once we expand our budget, someone will have to go cover the next iPhone event.
So, what's the final verdict today? Which product would you run for, or would you run away from all of them?
So right now I'm saying no to the Google tablets. Google's reputation is rapid innovation, but they don't. The support in the software is not near where Apple and Microsoft's reputations are. So I say no to that one. I think the iPad Mini. It's just an iPad, but it's smaller. If you really had that much problem, why don't you just buy an iPod Touch? That's always been an option, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say the one to look out for would be the Surface. If that keyboard is as good as it says, that's the keyboard you have to touch and feel. If it's as good as the videos say and the people are evangelizing, that's what to buy.
Excellent. And so what next year? The iTable.
Well, the iTable has been in long development.
Well, all right. So we're gonna head over to G with some news about Greece. No surprise. So what's up, G?
This is going to be a little different from anything else I've brought you so far. Maybe a controversial topic, but I'd love to get everyone's insight on this. So the question I have, are brothels in Greece becoming the new investors?
Kind of sounds like investment brothel.
Right. A spin-off of investment banking.
Trademark that. Trademark.
Trademark.
Basically what's happening is the Amateur Athletic Federation in Greece has no money, and in order to strike, per se, they suspended all activities because they don't have the money to pay back their debt or do anything. All the amateur soccer teams, other sports federations, they're unable to get any money. As a result, there's no sponsorship. Players have to leave the country or not play anymore. So what's ended up happening is brothels such as Villa Erotica has sponsored pink jerseys with their name on it, and they are basically investing in clubs to keep people playing. And not only in that, but they're also investing in science and research and stuff. So are they the new investors? Not only that, though, I mean, I was just being a little mean there, but they're going to unconventional methods of financing, such as kebab houses, restaurants, stuff that you'd never go to before, and these are the guys that are pouring in the money now. So what's your take on this? What do you guys think?
I think that's it's surprisingly a resilient business. I guess people might not have a job, but scrape up that last bit of money, and I guess it's going into the brothels in Greece. That's a little scary, though, given the austerity measures.
There's always this concern that, if I see a brothel sponsoring a sports team, I might be more likely to go to that brothel. Personally, I would not. But I remember a very similar thing happened a few years ago. Do you guys remember the Molson mini kegs? The Molson Canadian, they were like 15, like 3 liters or something like that.
Yep.
And they were putting Don Cherry's suits on the outside of them.
Yep.
And they had to pull them all off the shelves because kids were associating drinking beer with Don Cherry, and kids look up to Don Cherry. So there was this huge concern about the association between beer and children's hero. Not say that this is necessarily the same case, but I'm sure that argument will pop up somewhere where someone's going, we can't associate brothels with soccer teams.
I mean, think about it. It's a pink jersey with Villa Erotica written on it. I mean, that's going to send the wrong message, I think, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the I actually hadn't considered that, but for the children's sake,
Somebody please think of the children.
I'm just thinking, when I was a kid, I was completely oblivious to that kind of thing. I think it's only adults who shed light on it, and once one adult thinks about it, all other adults think about it, and kids will just remain oblivious and still watch soccer. It's still going to be soccer for them.
On the flip side, though, according to this one lady, brothel owner, she says that if we don't help our scientists and athletes, where will we be? Greece has educated people, clever people, and good athletes. It's better to help them than take our money to Switzerland. So, I mean, in a way, she is trying to help her country come out of this crisis.
I think it's very innovative, and you look at a country whose obviously their economy has been stagnating and then in decline. They're showing you that, as much as from the outside we've been thinking they're not doing anything to help themselves, people are doing a lot to help themselves. I can't say that it's the best approach for soccer teams just because of what Connor said and the youth impact, especially in amateur sports. But I think that as long as people are honest and if kids ask their parents what it's about, they give them a fair description without going into detail. I think these people, if they have the money, they're helping the economy. I say go for it.
Well, that's all I have for now, and I mean, it was just a great topic. I thought it would be really interesting to have other people comment on it. If you do have any comments, leave them on our Facebook page or Twitter. Let us know what you think about this form of investing.
Yeah, and anything we say on the show, you can hit us up at What's Up DeGroote, and we'll always we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
So, have you guys ever thought about being an entrepreneur, starting up your own business?
Definitely.
Never.
Always.
Never. Okay.
That's a lie. I thought about it, but not strongly.
Okay. I up until about 2 months ago, I had never considered it, never thought in my head. I'm taking an entrepreneurship course. Very interesting, opening my mind to just this whole other world I haven't been exposed to. Now every day I'll look at something and go, I wonder how I can make money doing that. I wonder how I can make money doing that. It's really weird. Anyways, in this course we had a required reading, and this was a book that I read from cover to cover and actually thoroughly enjoyed it, which I was kind of surprised it was required reading. The book was called The Monk and the Riddle, and it was basically a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley who was approached by a young startup entrepreneur who wanted to start a website called funerals.com, and they offer very competitive prices on everything funerals, cheaper caskets, cheap flower arrangements, which, okay, I'm sitting there, that sounds kind of interesting, right? You know, funeral homes essentially have a monopoly on people when someone passes. But the interesting part was this venture capitalist went, good idea, but who's going to go online in such an emotional time and buy a casket? Anyways, I highly recommend reading this book. Just about, it poses a lot of questions about whether being an entrepreneur is the right idea for you, and even if you have that idea, what are the necessary steps that you internally might want to go through to reach the point of should you pursue this or not. Anyways, the book's called The Monk and the Riddle. It was like $15 on Amazon. It was 180 pages. I read it in a week, so it's a very short read. Totally worth it. Yeah, kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to entrepreneurship.
I think a lot of people don't actually think about that option of being an entrepreneur, but I always think, like, you look outside on a given day, and most of, aside from what the government's groomed, most of what's not grass or trees is put there by businesses that people had to start, people had to come up with the idea for. So it's definitely an important topic. Actually, on the same topic, there are a couple of guys putting together a entrepreneurship club in the school, so keep an eye out for some postings about that, because I think there's going to be some stuff going out soon, trying to just build a bit of a member base, just build a bit of a community around entrepreneurial people in DeGroote.
Speaking to that, this past weekend in Mississauga, there was basically a startup seminar where you present your idea, and then a panel of judges decided if your idea was the best idea, and you won. I believe it was about $1,000. So if you have an idea and you just search for these types of things, there are competitions, specifically in the GTA, that are for people who have startup ideas and they want to find some funding. So if that's for you, then try it out.
I actually had a really interesting idea that I discussed with some of the exchange students. I just don't have a team to put it together and go out there, but phenomenal idea. We'll talk about it another time, but honestly, those competitions are great from what I've heard, and a great way to start off on something that you're not sure about.
Yeah, I've thought about it a little bit. My fear, obviously, in the past was just that losing that steady paycheck. But after kind of being here for, we've been here for almost 2 months now, you kind of understand. You don't need the whole Rome wasn't built in a day saying. You hear that all the time, but I definitely see it and understand it being here. Even just the starting off of the show. I had the idea before we started school, but it took a while to build it up, assemble a team. So I think entrepreneurship, I think the big thing that I'm taking away from all what you guys are saying is it's kind of the build up. You start off and you expand little by little by little, and you keep working, you do whatever it is you're doing, but
you definitely got to grind it out. Like being an entrepreneur, I don't think is ever easy, but I think it's rewarding, and I also think that it is it's still just risk management. Like at the end of the day, most jobs out of this program that a lot of people are going to get involve managing some sort of risk. So being an entrepreneur, you just own it.
I was at a conference this last weekend in Hamilton. HiveX is basically a bunch of business leaders that come together. And there was an individual talking about entrepreneurship and innovation. And basically, the number one thing with these things is don't be afraid to fail, because you actually learn more from failing than you do from just succeeding all the time. So you will fail, and a lot of times you'll fail more than you will succeed, but don't be afraid of failing.
Yeah, my prof said if it wasn't for his failures, he wouldn't be the entrepreneur he is today. It was his failures that sort of defined, not his successes that defined who he is, but the failures. So it's very interesting. Now, mind you, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. Even guys in this room, they said, not for me, and that's fine. But some people, it sounds really cool. So it is a bit of personal reflection of whether you can handle this emotional roller coaster and many failures before you reach that one success. Now we're going to head over to Tunde, who's also filling in for Ari with the world of sports.
Oh, thank you, Connor. So Ari isn't with us again this week, but he always sends on his fantastic fantasy football advice. Any of you following this advice are probably tops of your league right now. But let's get right to it. So the fantasy stock exchange for this week. There was an early exit from Maurice Jones-Drew in yesterday's matchup against the Raiders, which meant that the Jags' backup, Rashad Jennings, showed off his talents, and he did not disappoint. He rushed for 44 yards and a touchdown, and also caught 58 receiving yards. And he's kind of showing them the skills that made him a desirable sleeper going into fantasy drafts this year, especially in the wake of Maurice Jones-Drew's holdout. So he's worth an add in most 12-team leagues, but I would wait until this afternoon to find out kind of the extent of Jones' injury, just before you get too excited about this. Some other notable stat lines this week. Jonathan Dwyer in Pittsburgh, running back, 122 yards rushing, 7.2 yards per carry. Larod Stevens-Howling, another running back out in Arizona, 104 yards rushing, a touchdown, and 45 yards receiving. Dustin Keller, tight end for New York, and he's been hurt for most of the year, and he's making a comeback. 93 yards with a TD this week. Kind of hurts. I almost added him this week. I was thinking about it. I was hovering over the add drop button. I picked up someone else instead, and kind of got burned on that one. And finally, can't we all just get along? It seems as though tight end Jermichael Finley and quarterback Aaron Rodgers are having chemistry issues. That's the only way I can really describe it. I guess all those drop passes were a result of Jermichael feeling slighted that Aaron didn't invite him to Disney World in 2010. True story. You know how after this, they win the Super Bowl, they always go, "I'm going to Disney World. I'm going to Disney World." Yeah. Apparently, Aaron did not invite Jermichael to Disney World, and he's taking it personally. All I'm saying is, for a guy who was originally ranked as a top 5 actually, fantasy tight end, 2 catches for 31 yards will not cut on my fantasy team. He should no longer be your first option at tight end, and with Rodgers tossing 4 to 6 TDs a game, I wouldn't drop him, but I'd definitely bench him. And some other Week 7 stat lines, and these are in the negative way. Vernon Davis, tight end San Francisco, 0 points. He did nothing. Didn't catch the ball, didn't catch touchdown, didn't do anything whatsoever. Des Bryant as well, 14 yards receiving. And Trent Richardson, star running back, 8 yards rushing, 11 yards receiving. Those guys all had awful weeks. And that's basically what you need to know for fantasy football for now. Keep in mind, in the future, Ari will be back, and we will also be covering a little bit of basketball once basketball starts up. And if we do get hockey, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all that other superstitious stuff, we'll have a hockey report for you as well.
Well, that's all we have this week. Tune in next week when we have our special guest, Carlos Cabrero, come in to chat with us. If you have any questions you want us to talk to them about, email, tweet, or Facebook us. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at What's Up DeGroote, all caps on the first words, and like us on Facebook. If you want to contact us directly by email, whatsupdegroot@gmail.com. And this is What's Up DeGroote signing off to go anxiously wait for our ranking match results.
Later, guys.
Ciao.
Ciao.